Aloha, everyone, and welcome to Java. Thank you for joining me. This is for the week ahead, starting September 25th, 2023. Today is Sunday, the 24th, and I got back a little bit late, so this is out a bit late from my trip. But we've got the calendar up here. This is the last week in September. We're heading into October. Quite a few things going on, typically very soft month for the markets. And I think we are in terribly high risk areas. So debt market kind of shaking, kind of in the area to where it welcomes black swans. So stocks did end last week in the red, and the 2-year treasury yield hit the highest since 2006. And the stock market does not like high treasury yields. So for what we've got going on here, we are expecting the latest updates on home prices and pending home sales for August. Fed Chair Powell will be speaking on Thursday, but mostly with educators. So I think it's something a little bit different. We've got COSTCO earnings, which is going to be a big one, Micron and Carnival Cruise Lines, for those of you that are traders. So with that, we also had Rite Aid is the latest kind of victim from all of this going on. So they are proposing to close as many as 500 stores, and they're looking towards bankruptcy. So another larger company that is going down, mid-sized to larger companies now beginning to get hit. So with that, we also had Biden announce another $325 million in aid for Ukraine coming up for the war. And I don't know how you feel about that, whether you think that's money well spent. Let me know your thoughts. Okay, so moving on, we've got rising market rates plus supply increase when Airbnbs come back on the market because people are starting to get a little crushed with that. I think this is going to bring the new home sales down, but we'll see how those numbers come out. So when in the central banks, we've got the European Central Bank, ECB, saying that basically the jump in fuel costs will not affect the 2% inflation in 2025. I don't know how he's figuring that. My math is a little different, but the almost doubling in energy costs, I see affecting everything. I expect inflation to increase across the board pretty much because even if it doesn't, it's not made from oil. They use oil to ship it. So more inflation coming. We've got Biden's trade chief. So they're talking about World Trade Order reform agenda, but mainly in regards to Africa. So Africa is also an up and coming economy. And they're warning about the trade with this because they're rich in resources. They're also rich in lithium, as well as gold and a few other resources that we will be needing for our electric vehicles and their agendas moving forward. Okay, we're also in a currency war. If you're new here, basically this is the US dollar just formed what they call a golden cross on a chart, meaning that they expect the dollar to gain relative strength. And why this says it could cause trouble overseas is because it's basically going to devalue other currencies relative to the dollar. So we're crushing every other currency we can while we still have strength. And what that does is that makes all of their goods much more expensive, and it's easier for us to purchase from other countries. So this is by design. This was done on purpose so that we can purchase and store up our resources that we need before we let this dollar go out of value, so to speak. So a couple more stories. In the US, they've been having the battle over the debt ceiling as to whether they need to cut their spending. So they've kind of come to an agreement. It hasn't fleshed out yet, but that could be a market mover. And as we were talking about before, Treasury yields headed even higher, and that typically, is very harsh on stocks. So just urging caution, we are in a tremendously high risk area in the markets. So we've got an area on talking about whether we've broken the housing market. And we've kind of gone to a unique situation. So basically what he's saying with the high rates, it's too expensive for people to move out of their houses and purchase another house because the interest rates are high. And then they've got people that don't want to sell for the same reason because they'll be losing out. So we crush both supply and demand side, and that's why housing prices are higher, but I expect that to reverse quite suddenly. We'll see what happens in the housing market. And then this story is just an effect of the real economy. Baby boomers, which is pretty much 55 and older at this point in time, are becoming homeless at a rate not seen since the Great Depression, and are talking roughly 50%. So 50% of the homeless population in the US currently are 55 and older, and it's increasing rapidly. So not a good story. So with the trade wars and the currency wars, we had Janet Yellen. She publicly admitted that Americans should anticipate a decline in the value of the US dollar. It's slowly losing reserve currency status. And this, as I've said before, this will take time. However, diversify now, basically telling you outright, dollar is going to be trash. But for now, keep enough physical dollars on hand and then back yourself up with tradable gold and silver, physical gold and silver is the recommendation, not financial advice. Okay, going into our propaganda, wars and rumors of wars. So, this headline I wanted to point out because if you just scan over it, this is basically American propaganda. Russia announces they are handing over their weapons. Okay, in English, this would have been slaughtered because it's proliferate use of pronouns. And what it sounds like, this is by design, is that Russia is handing over their weapons, which is not the case. They are talking about Armenia, to which Russia is acting as kind of uh, a neutral third party, there being Switzerland between what's going on with Armenia and Azerbaijan. And so they're saying that they are handing over their weapons, not Russia. Russia is very strong. In their headlines, just to put a view of the United States president, they're saying that he shouldn't be ridiculed, he should be pitied. And in their uh, social context, it is basically quite a downput to say that someone should be pitied. Means they don't have value and can't do much of anything, basically worthless. The other headline is saying that the crime, drugs, and terrorism, what the open border agenda means for the United States. We've got terrorists that are crossing the borders. They've flagged, National Home Security has flagged over 75,000 so far of the almost 500,000 that have crossed the border from the south that could be linked to terrorist organizations. So it's a definite security issue. Okay, so this story I wanted to go into because it's about Russia's market, their stock market, the MOEX, Moscow Exchange. And basically, they are admitting they've been closed, but now they're allowing foreigners to exchange on their market. And this is the list here. So, friendly countries, quote unquote. But if you read between the lines for these countries that are friendly, that are allowed to trade on their market, these are the up and comings and the ones that they will be doing trade with. So I'm going to leave this up so you can see this list because I think it's important much more for the list as it is, not simply to trade on their market, but to trade in general and who will be the realigning of these two forces that we're watching between BRICS and the Western nations, which is typically the United States, European Union, and a couple of the others. Kind of Canada. Canada's kind of on its own at the moment. But anyway, won't go into that right now, but just watching the currency wars and the realignment going on. So at this time, if you would, please hit the like button if you would be so inclined. That is, if you could, that is a great help to me. I appreciate that. Gets this word out. So now for lava updates. Got a couple of things I wanted to bring to you. This first one also from Russia. And I do like it because, as it says, to wake up, Uncle Sam, is the US military ready to take on Russia and China? This is a slap with the glove and throwing it on the ground, basically regarding the Ukraine conflict, talking about how that has exposed the limits of American power. And I would also posit this to think about that it's being spoken about with Russia fighting that war. If they truly wanted to fight that war and step in, they could. and it would be done in an instant. They've been actually pretty slow about it, in my opinion. However, you can have your own. Let me know what you think in the comments of how you think that war is going. I think Ukraine has lost, and it's time for them to just kind of basically admit it. So with that, I know I'm going to make a lot of people upset about that, and I'm sorry about that, but that's just my opinion. Let me know why I'm wrong or why you think differently in the comments if you would. And I've got one last thing I really wanted to share with you because I think this is kind of fun. This photograph has something in it, and I wanted to bring up because I want people to start thinking and paying attention to the propaganda. And if you can read this, let me know in the comments. Be very interested to see, like, what do you think of this one? So I just wanted to share that. And I also want to let you know that we can get through this. I don't believe this is over yet. I think that there is time for us to kind of stand. And I've got a link from a friend of ours, Jules. Thanks so much for this. If you are prepping or storing food, they're having a 10 pounds can sale. Mountain House, they make pretty good product. I don't get anything from this. I do like their products. It's not an affiliate link if you would like to type it in. I may not put it in the comments because YouTube has taken me down for a couple of legitimate links that they just for some reason didn't like, and I wrote them. They haven't told me why yet. So anyway, with that, I would like to wish you all a wonderful day. Thank you kindly for staying with me this long if you have. And please hit me up in the comments. I would appreciate that. And have a wonderful week. And until I see you again in the morning, my friends, stay free.